Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hashtag hosts and the HQFM quiz and bingo software are proud to sponsor the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. With HQFM quiz and bingo software, you can use this interactive quiz software at any venue. All you need is an internet connection. Go to hashtagquiz.co.uk for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. And today I'm joined by a very exciting guest. He is a double diploma classical pianist and organist, and he's also my Uncle Peter. Please welcome onto the show today, Peter Wild. Hello there, Peter. How are you?
Oh, fine, thank you.
It is an absolute pleasure and honour to have you on to today's podcast. Not just because you're my Uncle Peter, but because there is very, very few things that you can't fix. You have so many skill sets, and on the piano and, of course, on the organ as well. You have a plethora of professional work that you've done all your life, and it gives me great pleasure today, Peter, to have you on to today's show. So are you sitting comfortably?
Yes.
Fantastic. And if you can just say, Peter, just in brief, a little bit about your career, just some of the highlights, and then what we're going to do, with your permission, is take you back in time and hear all about you.
I thought I'd go back to the piano because once you've played the birdie dance about 1,000 times, you're something a bit more cultured. So I thought I'd go back and get piano lessons in 1989 with Katrina George of Blackpool, who's no longer with us, God bless her. And then she died after 3 years I'd been with her. But I kept on playing the piano and learning pieces, and got myself a new teacher in 2000.
What did she teach you, Peter?
Well, classical piano.
Yeah.
And she set me up for a piano concerto.
Okay.
Which was in 1991, and then she died the year after. So it's a shame, but we lost a very good piano teacher, probably the best in Lancashire.
Really?
Yeah, superb. So I just, after that, I carried on just learning pieces on my own, and getting a new teacher in 2000, Ruth Bridge. And then eventually in 2010, I got on with Martin Roscoe, who I'm with up to present. So that's
he's
like
very good, isn't he? He's very good.
Yeah.
What I love about this channel is everybody is very humble, and you have incredible gifts. So when you say this particular lady was the best, I would assume now that maybe you've taken that job. And you are incredible though, Peter, and that's why I wanted to bring you on today, because we've got lots of different guests in entertainment, but a classical pianist and an organist who has, and we'll go on to that in a minute, but where have you played that's very, very exciting in Blackpool?
The Tower Ballroom Wurlitzer organ. That was last year. That was May 23.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was quite an experience, that, and a fantastic thing, really, just a fantastic thing. I was really touched at getting treated to it. It was fabulous.
And you played it like you were just, it was something that you played all your life, and it's, of course, it's a 3-tier organ. It's the one that we all love, Strictly Come Dancing, and obviously that's the Tower Ballroom. To have that opportunity to play on that particular organ, but you didn't just play it, you absolutely literally blew the stops off. You were absolutely fantastic, and it was a pleasure to watch you play. And you've since been back again and followed Phil Kelsall, I believe, at an afternoon dance as well. So you've got such incredible gifts there, Peter. It's so lovely. So
Thank you.
so no, it's fantastic. And you really have. I mean, you've always played, as I was growing up, it was always Uncle Peter at Christmas is now going to play all the Christmas songs, as you said. And but beyond that, what's the piano that you've got in your own house at the moment? I know you've got a Clavinova upstairs, but what's the main piano you've got downstairs, Peter?
We have a grand piano by Kawai. And Kawai is Yamaha's biggest rival in Japan.
Oh.
Yeah, they're up there with Yamaha quality. They're about level pegging when you talk to piano tuners, the people that are working on them all the time. A fabulous piano, fabulous.
Wow.
Really, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful when you play it. How does it sound when your wife plays it?
Well, it's good up to a point. Yeah.
You're brilliant. And Auntie Joan, your wife, Joan Wild, she can play chopsticks, and she can certainly get a tune out of that piano. But when you sit at it, it's like a dream. It really is. I can't go anywhere near a piano the way you can. I think you're absolutely fantastic at that. And obviously you've had a lifetime, haven't you, Peter, in the 70s and 80s, with the organ, because that was the that was the instrument of its time, wasn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, it first started when the vicar of our local Church of England church said I could go and try the pipe organ in the church, and I was about 14. And eventually, I got to play that organ, and then he let me go and practice on it, which was incredible. But because I had some lessons with the organist. He taught me the pedals and the stops and everything that's peculiar to organs, and it really set me up to sort of go playing the Hammond in hotels and clubs and that. Because once you can pedal on the pipe organ, the electronic ones are much easier, really. And it just worked out tremendously. And I got sent to church every Sunday with my brother. And I'd heard the mass that many times, I could hear what was being played. And when I got better at playing the organ in the church, I found I could memorize all the glorias and all the speciality bits, the chanting and stuff. And I just kept practicing and having an odd lesson here and there, and it built up the standard, really. So, and then the vicar, he realised that he got himself a reasonably good deputy organist. So I got to play church organs in like the Oldham Royal Infirmary. They had a pipe organ in there, would you believe it? And they used to take me down to play for the hymns and everything, and all the bits that the regular organist wasn't keen on doing. So it was a good grounding, really, and it built up from there, really, on the organ. And I was still doing piano studies, doing my grades and everything. And that's kind of it in the short version. Yeah. So.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, that's not something that everybody can do, Peter. That's a special gift that I think that you have. And I've heard a lot of pianists, and I've heard a lot of organists, and of course, having worked on stage as a singer, often I would be supported by an organist prior to singing in some of the venues. Even still today, there are very few organs available, but sometimes they are on the stages. But you, Peter, like I said, you can blow the stops off. And I do hope that people watch to the end, because at the very end of today, you're going to be showing what you did on the Wurlitzer organ in Blackpool, and that's a real highlight and a treat show reel at the very end of today's show. And oh, it was such an honour to watch you coming up out of the gods and really playing so beautifully as you did for sequence dancing. So that's something that you ended up doing, was the working towards sequence dancing. But I want to now go right back to the very beginning and hear how it all started for you, Peter. So first of all, whereabouts were you born, and what were your mother and father's influences? What were their jobs and influences on your childhood?
Well, they were smashing parents. My dad was an engineer, and my mum was like a full-time housewife, bringing the two of us up. Julie arrived in 1956, my sister. And it was a case of, they could tell that I was musical when they were very young. I used to sing to the radio, and we had an old wind-up gramophone, and I'd be putting records on, and when it wouldn't go round on its own, I'd push it round with my finger, singing like top of my voice to it. So it was probably a horrible racket, you know.
And there was three of you, wasn't there, Peter? There was Steve, your elder brother, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, and then you were the middle child, and then your
most,
younger sister Julie, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And it was they could tell that I'd sort of got music in me. So it was a case of, what happened was that my dad had a friend in the, if you heard of the Freemasons.
Yeah.
And he had a friend over in Salford, Manchester, and they had an adopted daughter called Janet, and we went round for Sunday tea one Sunday afternoon, and her dad, Charlie Webster, he said to Janet, get on and play that Mozart sonata, you see. And they had a beautiful piano because they were quite rich, and she jumped on and played this Mozart, and that did it. I wanted lessons.
And how old would you be, Peter, at this point?
9.
9, right.
Yeah. So my mum, we eventually found a good piano teacher in Royton, where we were born and bred. The milkman, he told us about Mrs. Chadwick, and his name was Chadwick as well, but not related. And he put us on to Nancy Chadwick, the teacher that I eventually got on the piano. And one Friday night in October 1958, I had my first piano lesson. And it was like a eureka moment, because the things she was showing me, it all made sense somehow. And she was showing me, and if you got your lines and spaces right, after one week, she'd give you 6pence. And it was just a nice treat, you know. And
wow, Peter, I didn't know that. So she would actually credit you with a little bit of spending money.
Yeah, that's right. It only happened the once, but it was just a bit of encouragement to learn your lines and spaces, treble and bass clef, as you know. And that were fine, really. And I did well. I got my first exam, I got a merit. That's 120 out of 150. And I passed all the others, all the theory exams, first time, wham. And finishing up with grade 8 in November 1967. And then I left her in 1968 because I'd seen the organ and the electric organ, like the Hammonds and stuff. And that's the way I wanted to go. And it proved to be bang on, because I got work on the file course when we moved to Lytham in 69. So I was able to get work in the Tells, the Seafront Hotel in St Anne's, a very nice place. And I got a residency there at age 19. And so
wow.
it was yeah. So with learning the organ in church, it set me up tremendously for the Hammonds.
In your youth, Peter, where were you born, did you say, and where did you go to school?
Well, I was born in Royton, which is near Oldham, and I went to Chadderton Grammar School for boys in 1966, and left in 66 and went straight into the apprenticeship of being a television engineer, which I've been crackers about trying to work out how a TV set works. And obviously, when you get an apprenticeship and you start going to tech, it feeds all the gaps in your knowledge, a lot of them really. But you know, it was a 6-year course then, which included colour TV, and if you got that, you're welcome in any service department, because some of the older black and white TV engineers, once colour came out, they threw the towel in.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is you went sort of the conventional route of getting, as you did in those times, of getting a proper career. But what was amazing was underlying that career, which, by the way, what you can't fix, we always say, if Uncle Peter can't fix it, it's not worth knowing. So you have this dual talent, don't you? That you know, you can do electrics and engineering and all these different fantastic skill sets by day. And then you also have this incredible piano and organ skill set by night. So you've got this dual talents, really, and that has served you your entire life, hasn't it? Because you've just been amazing for all of us, you know, the whole family. You're on the sort of top of the list. As soon as anything goes wrong, the lights falling down, ring Peter. So, you know,
Billy's gone off, yeah.
And sometimes you say, just chuck it out the window and get another. But but you know, you've got all that electronic skill set, which did that help in any way in terms of your incredible computer brain, I call it, because you can remember dates, times, and information that most people couldn't continue to sustain in their brain. Your memory's impeccable. So did the two work symbiotically? Did the electrical engineering and working in television and media help with, you know, understanding the organ and everything that goes with that?
Well, certainly in the electronic part of it, because we've had the organs go off midstream of you know, in residencies, and the private do the court club, and the organ went off completely, and it was a private do. People had come, and of course, as luck would have it, I had my toolbox, and it had blown a fuse in the amplifier. It took about an hour to fix it, and the guy that was running it, it was steam coming out of his ears, but there were nothing. We rung the organ dealer up, and they wouldn't come out to it. But luckily, I fixed it, and the Hammonds were so bad, but the Lowry organs, they weren't quite as well built. But that's like a detail, really. But
no, but that just goes to show, Peter, what I'm smiling at is your dual talent. There you are with your toolbox, you know, Mr. Fix It in one hand, and your aprons, and then you've got your you know, you're sitting by the piano and your bow tie and all of that in the other hand, but you could do both.
I had a screwdriver in one end and a multimeter and a pint in the other, because they were allowed to take a drink up on the stage, like in clubs. They wouldn't mind.
Is that how it was? That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, you could take a drink up on stage in clubs and in hotels. You know, it was just a dumb thing, and you get sent pints of beer, more than you could drink at Christmas. But I mean, they're very good fun.
Wow. So a very colourful career. We're going to move on to that in a second. But in your childhood, Peter, how did it feel growing up? Were you quite a confident lad or a shy lad? Or how was school for you? And what were your favourite subjects within the school system that sort of developed you into what you ended up doing?
I like geography.
Okay.
I liked anything, although you didn't like look at electronic things till you got to grammar school. Amps, bolts and ohms, all the nuts and bolts of electricity, which I was trying to learn on my own anyway, because all that involvement is pertaining to mending tellies and radios and all the rest of it. So it was a case of I was good at chemistry, good at English language, full enough, spelling and stuff. Useless at algebra, geometry not so bad, history hadn't a clue. And I'm just thinking what else. Physics was quite good, because it's interesting, you see, that brings into electricity and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, And were there any stories at school that, did you blow anything up while you were practicing with your incredible skill sets?
Well, blowing things up was more in the workshop when I'd left school. We would blow things up on purpose, or destroying all colour TV with very large house bricks, throwing them at him. But
I love that story, and I love that you told it when I was young. And my parents were saying, don't listen.
I know, yeah, because you did. Sometimes you'd get a few old TV sets in that were past the best, and you just destroy them because you'd spend all day trying to repair stuff, and it's quite a wind up sometimes. That some faults are difficult, and they can take days to fix. And we've had people working in the wrong section of the TV set because they didn't realise what was going on further back in the signal chain, sort of thing. But it's all part of it, really, and it teaches you. It teaches you very well to really know how a TV set works, for instance,
Well, that's kind of what I mean about your brain. You have this, like a computer brain, Peter, very different to an average person. You really have this innate wisdom of a very technically advanced brain. And I just wanted to know where that came from. Was it just you were born with that, where you can actually think beyond what's in front of you?
I think it was because my dad was a very good engineer. I mean, he rebuilt cars and stuff, and we always had a reasonably nice car before other people had them, the old Rovers and that. He was an excellent engineer, so whether there's a bit of that. I did have an Uncle Percy who was exactly the same. I was exactly the same. I could bust dance music all night. It was on the piano in his day, before the Hammond and everything, the Hammond organ. And then he was the church organist as well, and choir master. So we were similarly sort of gifted, if you like.
And of course, at school, you don't have much sort of expansion on electricity. So where did all the advanced knowledge of that come from? Where did you learn that? Was that just something you were tinkering away with at home, Peter?
It was at first until I left school. And then, of course, when you start going to technical college, which was like, they called it day release, you got a day off to go to college all day, and it'd be from like 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. They used to call it night school, but it was day release. And then you'd be looking at different aspects of electricity, like AC theory, which is complicated. And you'd be looking at everything to do, like transistors, how a transistor works, how a valve works, the types of components they use. It's a vast subject, and it was a bit underpaid, really, for what you had to know, because 6 years from walking in to walking out and saying I can mend a colour tell, it's quite a long while back then. That's as it was, City and Guilds, which they call 47, 48, which was the time when they started doing these courses after the war, sort of thing. So, yeah.
Wow. And how old would you be where you were training in that, Peter?
I'd be 17 when I left school, a little bit later than I should have been. But what happened was the technical colleges started the term in September, and I joined them in the January. And I was virtually up to speed with what they were doing because I've been meddling with things, and how a valve works and what a capacitor looks like, an inductor, resistors, all the tiny bits inside of a telly. And I kind of hit the ground running, dare I say, without sounding big-headed. But because the things they were doing, I thought, oh wow, that's how that works. And there was a lot of eureka moments that I sort of worked out. So it was great, that. So it was like pop, 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 and it was building your knowledge up all the time. Because if you're interested in something, you'll do well at it. And it's the same for anything, isn't it?
And how can you influence somebody today watching you, Peter? And what I love is you're very expressionistic with your fingers. Because you are a pianist, we can. It's like Wallace and Gromit, but I love that. Hello, Gromit. But what's great is you're very expressionistic with your hands, because, like you say, everything's about either tinkering by day, breaking down a television, getting into the intricacies of why a cable does something and what goes on behind there. And that's an enormous skill that perhaps we've lost today, because we just don't get these opportunities perhaps that you had, Peter. And maybe it's something we need to bring back. You know, we all ring you instead of actually learning ourselves how to do these things. What would you say to inspire anybody today to follow in your footsteps and learn, you know, about the electronics and all of those side of things? Anybody that's interested in that field, Peter?
Well, I think you've got to go for formal training, really. And then if you're interested, if you're keen enough, you'll be curious. And that, you know, it's the old story, as I said, if you're keen, you'll be asking questions. I don't know how they work it now, whether there's apprenticeships for TVs, because I spoke to a guy that was repairing flat screen tellies. And I said, how do you get on for sort of getting your knowledge on the new technology? And he says, well, we don't really get any help at all. It's all seat of your pants. So I don't think the teaching is as good as it used to be, really.
Right, so that needs to up itself. So what you're saying is we need to sort of have a look at that perhaps in the system and see if we can make better of those incredible qualities, so that people can be like you, so that they can literally, like I said, have the fixing toolkit in one hand. Because when we are performing, as I know as a singer, when I am performing, if I accidentally unplug the bingo, for example, at the Cliffs Hotel, my life's not worth living, Peter. You get accosted by a load of old ladies.
Oh, right,
So I could have done with you a few times to tell me how to replug it back in again. But you know, so what I'm saying is all these skill sets that you so beautifully have lend themselves to a career in entertainment, because you've got your sound systems. If you're a singer, or indeed a pianist or an organist, you've got all these sound systems surrounding you, microphones and all that, and you're a whiz at all of that. So all this training you had, Peter, lent itself, I think, would you agree, to your actual career?
Well, it helps because if you get faults, sometimes PAs like PA systems are abused, that they're lacking in technique using them. You know, they're either eating the mic, or the mic's so far away it's not picking up very well. Because I've given quite a few hints and tips to the people at Probus that pick a mic up, and like you say, it's either too far out to you, or the trombone in it, or they're eating it, and it's too much. You see, it's like 6 inches away is ideal.
When did you start playing the organ, Peter? You said you were 14 and it was in your local church. Did you also have an organ or a piano at home? You said you were going for lessons age 9. And how did that end up being? Were your parents covering those costs, and that was sort of part of what they were supporting you to do?
Yeah, well, that's right. I went for piano lessons starting age 9 in 1958. We had a piano at home. My mum got a piano, and because once she said I wanted to learn, I said I want to learn. My mum was on it 100%. So they got a piano for me.
Wow.
And then it was about 6 months before we got a teacher teed up in the October.
And what kind of piano, Peter? What kind of piano did you have back then?
Well, it was a no name one. It was an upright by Hilton and Hilton, and I don't know. I've never seen one with that make since. But it was it had 85 keys, which they had all that. Then they didn't have 88. But that apart, that's a detail. But it was fine. It was good enough to play grade 8 stuff on. And early in 1969 we sold that, and I got a Hammond organ, which I've saved up like Billy-O for, because I wanted to know the intricacies of it, really. And we bought one out of a pub in Shaw. It was only 4-year-old, and it was immaculate. So we took that to Lytham with us, and it was a good practice tool, really, because all the organs in Blackpool were all Hammonds, because they'd go forever, and they were just built to last, you know.
Just give us a taste of what it was like in Lytham at that time, Peter.
Yeah, what it was, we had this Hammond organ at home in Lytham, which I practiced on. That stayed there. And the job that was on offer, it was a Linda Mattel on the front at St Anne's. It's near that swimming pool thing.
Yeah.
And they had an A100, which was the next model up, a fabulous organ, Hammond, 2 octaves on the pedals for the technical people. That was a fabulous organ. You went in and played their organ, and there was a drummer as well called Jeff Sherry, and he taught me a lot, because I could play the organ, but there was a lot more to learn. It's like grade 8's a good starting place if you're trying to sort of go. Well, it was semi-professional really, because you're part-time but paid. That's how it worked. So that's how it worked.
So you were like, so just for in reference for what it's like today, you were a duo basically. And did you have a name, Peter? Did you have like a band name or anything?
No, not really. No, we didn't.
Or were you like Pete and Jeff or anything? How were you introduced?
No, not really. No, we people didn't bother in them days.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, they used to call us Peter Geroff, you know, sort of silly.
Well, I know you got up to a lot of antics, and is there anything you want to share with us here? I believe Jeff was quite a character. So you'd be there sloshing the beer, you know, quite different to today. And go on, tell us a bit more about what you did.
I know that Christmas night at the Doric Hotel, which is where we finished up, like later on in life. It was about the time me and Joan got married. I worked there. It was up near Uncle Tom's cabin on North Shore. Well, Jeff, we'd have that much beer bought us through goodwill and people bringing you pints, you know. And Jeff Cherry had one by his drums. He had one by the telephone box in the foyer. He had one up the corridor on a shelf. And they were just everywhere because people, and it was like the best night of the year. What a party! And by the time you had 4 pints, you're missing notes. But everybody's that popped up, you know. What a great atmosphere.
And what night of the year is that? Is that New Year's Eve or is that Christmas?
No, Christmas Day. Christmas Day,
Peter.
Yeah, in the evening. Yeah, that's one of the big highlights of the year, because everybody that comes on Christmas Eve, they're all knackered. And because they've all been Christmas shopping, the evening of Christmas Day was the best. It was the best time. It was the best time.
Wow, because we don't really have that today. Not a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I certainly was aware that it was predominantly New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve would be the big gigs. Yeah. But back then, you're saying Christmas Day itself was the highlight. Is that right?
Well, that was the best night for us because it was easy peasy. Everybody was in the mood. The floor filled up when you were dancing, and you could play louder than usual. And because people loved it, they got a full belly. The food at the Linda Mattel or the Doric, it was fantastic. You know, they put these buffets on them. Not kidding. You know, the standard was incredible. You know.
And what was it like then? Was it rows of tables and chairs? I just want you to colour the world of what it was actually like back then. I mean, you could openly smoke and drink and those kind of things. Whereas today, of course, I mean, perhaps you can today a little bit, but it's more sort of behind the curtain, I think, for people. But what you're saying is just colour the scene. What was it like? People sat at chairs or people up dancing? Tell us how it was, Peter.
Well, the way it worked at both hotels was that the ballroom floor was kept for dancing. It was an open space, and then there'd be tables and chairs around the edge, which was nice. So people could just get out of the chair and dance. So all the tables and chairs were around the edge. So that these places were roomy. You know, there were plenty of space. And they had waiters and waitresses on all night, bringing drinks out and that service from the bar, you know. which was great because you got to know them and you'd be taking the mickey, and you know, and if Jeff Cherry played a couple of taps on his cowbell on his drum kit, you know that a pretty young lady had just walked in. And we used to play for an older set of ladies and gentlemen on a Wednesday night at the Co-op Club, and they're all getting on a bit, and probably not the most photogenic of people, but very nice people.
So there were no
And,
cowbell taps.
No, there wasn't really. And I said to Jeff, "Oh, what we're going to call this?" And I said, "Oh, it's the Ugly Bug Ball."
He kind of put his cowbell in a suitcase and put the lid down.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah,
good fun. I mean, I've worked with the older generation, and I know you have a lot as well. They're brilliant, though. They're enthusiastic. They, you know, and just tell us a bit more about what you did, because I know you did sequence dancing, and as you quite rightly said, you had to use the microphone. So you learnt the same trade as I have, as you said earlier, how to hold the mic, how to speak eloquently into the mic. That was all part and parcel, wasn't it? So you weren't just playing the organ, you were actually delivering the songs. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I think that's why it didn't seem too much of a problem to do it in the Tower Ballroom, because it didn't really faze me that. I was just speaking to people, the present company, and the PA system's marvellous, like everything else in the Tower. And it's just a case of speaking to them, and it just didn't seem an effort, because I used to, when you do things often enough, you get used to them. It's very nerve-wracking at first, but you overcome that really. And full enough, if you get sick of a residency, the nerves go the opposite way. You start getting a bit passive and blasé, and I mean, it happens a bit sometimes, and then it comes back. But that's just same for everybody, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you were doing, how many nights a week were you doing, Peter?
Well, 2 nights a week.
Okay, which would be what nights? Wednesday, Saturday?
Used to be Thursday and Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And then it was the same at the Doric, I think, Thursday and Sunday. It just was that way. It was spaced out so that you got 2 events a week. So.
And you had your little microphone next to you. So you obviously were the front man of the band, the duo. So you would introduce and then you would play. And am I right that by the end you don't even need the sheet music? Because like I said, your incredible mind, your beautiful mind, Peter, is such an incredible memory that now you can play piano pieces and organ pieces and not follow the sheet music, and that in itself is a skill.
Yeah, the piano with advanced stuff, you do need the score up as you get older. Even Martin Roscoe, my teacher, he puts the music up now when he's playing a concert, because he's the same age as me, roughly, in his 70s. So, but most of the time for dance music, even back at age 19, I was busking all that stuff, because it saves putting music up, and it just works well. I thought, well, it's all right, this. I can play a medley of tunes from a playlist, and that works great. It works
so
great.
You would you sort of set your organ to a particular, you know, certain levels and things for each track? Is that, you know, for anybody that doesn't understand what we're discussing with the organ, would you set certain you know, sequences within the actual organ itself, like the bossa nova, etc.?
No, the drummer does the rhythm.
Okay, yeah.
Jeff would be he'd be setting the tempos and the style, if it was a quick step or a rumba or what have you. And then the change of sounds on the organ, they're up to your discretion. It's usually every 16 bars. If you're doing a crash modulation, which is part way through a phrase, that might be done and change the sound at the same time, which is effective. But the player, if you're on the organ, you're more bothered about the sounds. The drummer takes care of the tempo, and the rhythm pattern, obviously. And then you were sort of trying to make the organ interesting with varieties of registrations, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So you really are like a singer who's singing and then controlling their music, for example. You're also using a dual brain where you know that you're almost the conductor, I feel, as well. So you will say, right, I'm ready to go, and introduce the track to the audience. And that is that's a lot of brain work, is what I'm trying to say, Peter. We often undersell what we have to do when we're working in this environment, but it's a lot of brain work, particularly for you, where you're playing, changing the sequence, changing the sound, I should say, within the actual system.
Registration, yeah.
Having a beer in the other hand. I mean, there's a lot to think about.
Well, yeah. First things first, yeah.
And did you find, what was your natural character, Peter? Did you find that speaking to the audience, because I'm a naturally confident person, did you feel that natural confidence and flair yourself holding a microphone? Because not everybody has that. So how would you encourage somebody?
Just keep doing it. The thing is, keep doing it. It's like with the pianists that we have in our piano circle, they're frightened to death of it at first. But you just have to keep doing it, and eventually it goes down, does the feel.
And then did you do the Blackpool Seafront as well, Peter, as well as Lytham?
Well, no, we did Lytham, and then I did opposite North Pier. I did the foreshore room in 1972, and then we finished up having a ride up to the Doric. The drummer from there, he said, "Come on up," and we finished up taking the job off from me and Jeff.
Wow.
Because what happened was we went up and they let us play their gear, you see, and what happened was that the guy that was waiting on, Len Frisbee, he said, "Blimey, you two were good." And what happened was eventually that Len Frisbee was on the committee of the co-op club, and he says, "We've got to get these two guys," because they were having trouble with their organist and drummer, and one thing led to another, and we got the residency. So they were so chuffed, they put a brand new organ in for us.
Wow.
Big loud. It was very expensive back then, and we never looked back. It was the best gig. Instead of playing to midnight, it was 11 o'clock, so that it was easier. And it just all clicked again, bang. It was, we were happy days and stuff,
That's fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant, because don't forget, Peter, you're educating us on a world that a lot of people today don't know anything about the organ, or don't know much about the organ. There's a lot more keyboards today and that kind of thing, and a lot more bands and vocalists. But in your time, obviously, you have this duo, and you worked perfectly together, because as long as the beer was flowing, you were both fine.
yeah, very happy. Yeah.
And you're a natural comic as well. I know you're a bit poorly today, but your wit, your quick wit and humour bounces as well. And I know you're keeping it nice and safe and clean for today's podcast. But you've got some very, very funny stories under your hat that you always share at Christmas about you and Jeff Cherry. So you've had this exciting career, which is just brilliant. And how many years did you play this area? How many years were you the organist residency, Peter?
Well, from 69 till 88.
Whoa! So how many years is that? Because you're clever at that.
Well, it's 19, isn't it? Yeah.
You see, that's a lot. That's not everybody's career. You're saying that for 19 years, from the age of 19 roughly, you played consistently at these brilliant venues, Lytham and Blackpool area, and reliability is what you're saying. So anybody coming up the ranks that wants to go into entertainment, that story you shared was incredible, because not everybody is reliable. And if people start saying, well, I want a holiday, or I can't do Tuesday, but I can do Thursday, these are the types of things, particularly when you get a residency, that managers get a little bit upset about. So
Right.
reliability, as you just explained, Peter, is absolutely key. It's not just
Yeah.
about your talent, but it's actually, can they consistently come and be dependable? Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, you've got to turn up because you're hard to replace
Yeah,
instantly. You know,
yeah.
it's a specialised skill, as a lot of things are. But with organists, if he don't turn up, you're stuffed,
Yeah,
basically.
because there's not a lot of you. Well, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm crediting you that there's not a lot of people that can do what you can do. So did you continue to play in the local churches as well, Peter, to get your skills up? Because a church sound, tell us about the sound in a church of an organ, particularly back then. Tell us how beautiful that
Well,
is.
well, the superb, the one I kind of learnt at right at the start in like 60 years ago. It was a bit asthmatic, the organ. It were a bit past its best, but still good to play. And if you pull all the stops out, the sound is just incredible from a pipe organ because all the pipes are sounding, and
Yeah.
in a big reverberant space like a
Yes,
church, they just sound tremendous, you know.
with the
And the
high
best
ceiling. Yeah,
yeah, the best organ I ever played, just to tell you quickly, was a brand new 3 manual Harrison and Harrison, which are the Rolls Royce of pipe organs. And that was installed in Royton Parish Church in 1956. And my first piano teacher actually put the engineers up that fitted the organ for a week. And they installed this brand new pipe organ. And I played it for 3 weddings there. And it was absolutely fabulous. It was. They were like the 3 best organs. Absolutely superb. You know, in a church, particularly the Harrison and Harrison, that was a 3 manual organ, and it cost
fantastic.
5,000. It cost £5,550 in 1956. That's about the price of 3 semi-detached houses. So it's a lot of
Goodness.
money. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
do they still have these church organs in surrounding venues? I know my local church has only got a little static one, but do they still utilise these, Peter? And do you still get asked to play on occasion?
Well, not so much these days, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, the cost of maintaining a pipe organ properly it's very expensive, and a lot of them have gone to rack and ruin. Because there was one at St Anthony's, down off Cadley Causeway.
This is in Preston, Lancashire. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lily asked me to play it for Bill's funeral,
This
and
is
it
my
was
nan. This is
unplayable.
my nana and grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go on.
the organ was unplayable. It was
Was it?
unplayable. They finished up with a little Yamaha plug-in electronic one down on the floor, and that's what we used.
And did you do a Les
But
Dawson on it, Peter?
well, it did it for you actually.
And, you know, speaking of Les Dawson, I know you really, really admired
Yes,
him. And just
yeah.
tell me a little bit about some of the people like Les Dawson. Why were they so genius at what they did? Because we've spoken to other guests that are comedians, and
Yeah.
looking at the stand-up side, I want you as a such a highly esteemed pianist and organist to tell me, why was he so good at his trade?
Well, I think Les Dawson was a fairly good pianist, and the thing is, he would, because I often tell people that I had lessons off him, and nobody believes me for some reason. And what he did, he taught you to play all the wrong notes in the right order, which was the converse to Eric Morecambe, who was playing all the right notes, but not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily in the right order. But tell me about that skill set that is needed, because I've seen you doing a Les Dawson on
Yeah,
purpose to
yeah,
entertain others, is part of your act, because you have this
right.
brilliant act that I want the audience to hear about. So because you're, what I'm trying to say is, because you're so good, you can't do what Les Dawson and you do if you can't play to a very high level. Just tell us what is needed to be able to play it wrong, Peter.
Right. Well, you need to be able to play it correctly to start with.
Yeah.
And then the thing to do is to change the notes that are in the if you put semitone errors in other words, if instead of playing B flat in F major, you play B natural, and instead of playing F, you play F sharp. That's one of his tricks, because you know the tune should go, but when it's done like that with semitones, because they're very discordant if they're incorrect or semitones, that's what creates the laugh, you know. Because
Yeah.
you know where the tune should be going, but it's going ta, 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 and it's like it just stands out so much. It's comical, you know.
Yes, it is. And you've got that skill set as well. And as I say, it's something that
Well,
you
I'm great
do.
at wrong notes. Yeah, I'm great
Go
at
on.
wrong notes.
No, not at all, not at all. You the point is you're doing it on purpose, which is why it's so funny. So you can be playing a sequence dance. I've seen you and I've come to your dances in the past, and you can just suddenly look over your shoulder like Les Dawson, and
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
like to be beside the seaside and then play it
yeah,
incorrectly. But the point is, you're still playing the tune like Les
yeah,
Dawson, but
yeah.
just slightly off, as you say, which is that's a
Well, it's
talent,
funny,
Peter.
isn't it? It's funny. Well, I'm not sure how much of a talent it is really, but
It is though, and it's engaging, and that leads us on to some of the things that you've been doing recently. So over many years, my father Steve Vandome, your friend, and he's been running sequence dances at the church. So he would be the master of the compere,
yeah.
and he would introduce the sequence dances, and the brilliant Peter Wilde would be at the organ. So for many, many years, how many years did you do sequence dancing, not just at our local church, but in the community, Peter?
Well, right back to like the days when I was 19, you were always expected to play modern ballroom, sequence, and Latin,
Yeah.
and that would be the general setup for all of the dance places, the Doric, the Co-op Club, and and more lately up at Our Lady of St Edward's Parish Centre, where we started the dances in 2000.
Wow.
And then when COVID came along, that it ended it all
Did
in
it?
2020. Yeah, so it was 20 years really.
And can you
Uh,
get that back, Peter? Is that something that you might be able to get back, or do you think that's the end of that chapter?
well, what we're doing now, we've done 2 or 3 pop evenings, which is all based on pop music,
Okay.
all stuff people knows. And then a week last Thursday, a fortnight yesterday, I played for the mayor of Preston, and we had a 50th anniversary of Probus, and we
And
had
what's Probus, Peter?
well, it's a professional business people's club. It used to be men only, but the we it's a mixed crowd now. It's the ladies and gentlemen are invited, and
Okay.
there was about 70 in the big room yeah, and we had the organ set up, and I played to them for an hour, a full program of songs from the shows and everything,
Wow.
uh, and some dance music, some Wurlitzer noises. People love like waltzes on the Wurlitzer organ, which we try and sort of emulate that sound with the organ that we've got, and that was the latest sort of outing to sort of play, yeah, sort of on
That's
stage.
fantastic. Well, that's fantastic. And you had a lot of what is Probus? Is it a charity run thing, Peter?
No, it's retired business people,
Okay.
and it was just about gentlemen meeting up.
And if
Well,
anybody
it's
wants to get in touch with Probus, I mean, is there any local connection through yourself, perhaps, or any website that they can, attach
well, they
themselves?
have a website, but they could always contact me if they wanted to join or anything.
And they'll be able to have the opportunity then, hopefully, to enjoy the sequence dancing and but the pop dancing that you've now moved
Well,
into.
that's more for the Probus thing was a one-off, the 50th anniversary, but the pop nights we've done, they're open to like all the parishioners of the church.
And this is Our Lady in St Edward's Church in Fulwood. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Yeah. And is my dad still hosting? Because obviously I got my stand-up comedy skills from my father, Steve Vandome.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't do it anymore now because
Has he retired?
Well, in the manner of speaking, but he kind of he'd probably come in and work just on the mic, but we don't expect him to lift furniture up and tables and everything.
Oh no, I was meaning the comparing. There's just the pure compare, because I have to highlight here, my father is in his 82nd year, but he's still got the comedy and the wit, and he's got the Eric Morecambe glasses like you. Yeah. So, and you work so beautifully together. So, and he always gives you very high praise when he brings you onto the stage. So, and rightly so. So that leads us back to one of the most fabulous events that you were invited to do, and if you can just highlight that, Peter, which is the Blackpool Tower Ballroom. So most people know the Tower Ballroom for the circus, or for the sea, the sea life connections and all of the different sort of, if going up up to the top of the tower, there's all these little connections, intricacies within the actual Blackpool Tower itself, which is a great attraction to so many every day, and the actual tower that Strictly Come Dancing comes up to once a year, the ballroom. Tell us about that, Peter. Tell us about that experience.
Well, it was fantastic. I got put in touch with David Windle.
Yeah.
Who he was acting as a mentor and showing me the sort of controls that bring the organ up and all that.
So he's an organist, isn't he, Peter? Just to let the audience understand.
That's right. He's one of the
he's one of the resident organists at the tower. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So he put me right, and we had a chat. There's a little anteroom buried under the stage where people meet, and you have to crawl through to get to the organ and that stuff. But anyway, he sort of put me right on certain things, and I said, well, can I start by coming up on the Wurlitzer? He said, well, if you feel confident. He could tell that I'd done all this before, sort of thing, but not on a theatre pipe organ. So he could tell I was used to the scenario of jumping on an organ and playing it, basically. So he was showing me the ropes, the settings and the pistons and all the controls, which you kind of get a grasp of some of it, but it's a very high spec instrument, really. There's a lot on it, in other words. But when you get when you sat on the stool waiting, it's a fantastic moment, because I do like to be beside the seaside ready, and a playlist, and the music desk is up here. But it's so high up, but that's how they were designed. But coming up on the organ is very, very special, and it was just a terrific experience. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it.
And as you were coming up, just tell us what you played as you were coming up from the depths, and you had members from Probus there, and you had lots of friends and family that had come to celebrate, coming from all over the world, some of the guests into the tower to enjoy yourself. And I think that even David, the resident organist, was sort of aghast, open-mouthed that you could do what you could create on that organ. And I think you played tunes that even the residents had never played before, including Phantom of the Opera and some of the West End musicals. So tell us what you played as you rose up out of the gods, and we'll be able to actually watch that at the end of today's podcast on your show reel. So tell us what you played, Peter.
Well, I think it's the one everybody plays, is I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside.
Yeah.
And then I think we broke into some dance music, because that's what the organ was built for. So we did a medley of quick steps, starting with Bring Me Sunshine, which is everybody knows.
Yeah.
And it's a sunny, cheerful piece. And then we worked our way through a medley of dance tunes like music from South Pacific, which was one of Richard Rodgers' best writings. Very, very, very well written. Some great tunes, and it just went on to after that there was a medley of modern waltzes, which always sounds tremendous on the Wurlitzer, and it just perfection really. The not my playing, I mean the sound that comes out is just tremendous, and what an experience! Absolutely memorable, absolutely brilliant, brilliant.
And you did, you know, quite literally play it. You know, I mean, people get the opportunity like this to have a go, and everybody's of a different level. But I have to say, you were, in my opinion, you were as good as any, you know, resident deputy there. And in fact, you were so good, you had the opportunity to come back again, and you
Yes.
followed. Who did you follow, Peter?
Mr. Phil Kelsall.
And that was a childhood dream for you, because tell us about Phil Kelsall. My father, I got to meet him the year before, which inspired me to have this idea of you know you doing this, and of course my father used to have the TDK tapes, and they always said Phil Kelsall on them. So we had one of those mics when we were little, so we'd be singing along to the mics. That's when we started, and then we'd have always Phil Kelsall. We never knew who this Phil Kelsall was. So when I had the pleasure of meeting him 12 months before you played, and on at the Tower, my first thing I said was, "My dad loves you." And I know you do as well, because he's an incredible pianist, isn't he? Tell us a bit about Phil Kelsall.
Well, he was born in Warrington. I think 13th of July 1956, about the same age as my sister, for what it matters. And I think, well, what he used to do was that if he went to the private school at Rossall, the big school, the famous one, and he used to peg off games to go and practice on the chapel organ, because he'd be there in his football kit practicing. Because he was keen, he obviously worked hard to get the skill level, and very, very talented young fellow, a big piano technique, which you need for an organ. I've heard that more than once from pianists and organists, but a superb player, and he knows the organ backwards, which I don't. I was just using pistons, and all you can do is just play your best. It's what you do with the keys that matters. So that, I mean, a fantastic musician. Fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you also had a lot of his music growing up as well. So he was somebody that you admired greatly with his skill set. What I love most is the sort of carousel, plinkety plonk, seaside type music. And I think everybody expects that. And that's so lovely that you actually got to come up from the gods to do that. And David, what's David's surname? David?
Windle.
David Windle was your deputy support on the very first time that you had the pleasure of playing, and you said he was also an incredible organist and obviously resident at the Tower, and also a very, very lovely gentleman. Is that right, Peter? And you had a lot in common.
Perfect gentleman. Put me at my ease, and he said, "Well, you're the first person I've let go up on your own as you come in, because a lot of people, the organ's already up on the stage."
So David supported you, is what you're saying, but you were so proficient. He was quite shocked, wasn't he, at what you could actually achieve on that stage?
Well, I thought, well, if I get this opportunity to play it, I want to come up on it, you know. It's all part of the thrill, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. So he said, "Well, that's fine. It's fine," and he just left me to it, basically.
How did it feel, Peter? How did it feel being at the bottom and then coming up, knowing you've got this big crowd of ballroom dancers ready to, an adoring crowd of family and friends? How did it feel coming up?
Quite something, really,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden the view comes. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, because you're coming into another world. It's another space, you see, and
Wow.
the organ, you can hear the organ better as you come up, and it's fantastic to play. Fantastic.
And I think David was lovely because he sort of helped you to set, this is really important for people to understand, just like a singer has to set the reverb and the mic and the levels and the music levels. Otherwise, if you do your first song and your levels aren't set, particularly if someone else is running it, it can either have feedback or there can be an issue. And what was beautiful about David, lovely gentleman at the tower, was he helped you to set those levels and showed you what to do. And what's really important is it's a three-tiered level. It's not just two. How did that feel? What was that challenge like?
Well, it is a challenge because I'm only used to two, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a fabulous instrument. And
were you looking for a third arm, Peter?
well, you feel to have a lot. It's like sitting in a modern aircraft jet and plonking in it and say, right, take off, It's a bit
and quite literally in your case. So not only are you moving, which is like a ride, a Blackpool ride, you're also playing, you're also on your very first track. You've also got the nerves, which is always very good as an artist. You want a little bit of adrenaline, don't you, which gets you in the mood. But what a rush, hey? And you like fast cars. You're a fan of cars and excitement, aren't you? So I guess that was a bit like getting in a classic car with that. Is that similar, likening it to something like that?
Well, it is. I mean, the Wurlitzer we go faster stripes. It's quite something.
Brilliant. And one of my favourite pieces, and I know it's something that you thoroughly enjoy playing, just tell us what that was, because lots of people, and I've gone over many years to the ballroom, and in the past used to dance there as well, and it's absolutely incredible venue. One of the pieces that you played was a real standout.
Right.
How was it? What was it like on a three-tiered Wurlitzer organ to play Phantom of the Opera?
Well, amazing, really. I mean, there's always bits of improvements that you think about afterwards, but it's always the case with a big instrument that you don't play regularly. So you just have to play your best and try and remember which pistons, because the pistons are preset combinations and they will change the sound for you. It saves going to all the tabs around the top. But I mean, the organ itself is just so special,
And what did you play from Phantom, Peter? Because we have artists that have been in the Phantom of the Opera, and they'll really sort of be intrigued by that moment. What music did you play?
It's the opening one, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's just called Phantom. It's Think of Me, and then the next one was
Music of the Night. Was it Music of the Night?
That was the last one. That's
Yeah.
one that has a very it has a very deep down ending. If you can get the atmosphere.
You did. That's what I wanted to highlight. You really did. I mean, it was very emotive, and this is really important for people to hear as well. It's not just the electrician career, which started the interest in electrics and how it all fits together, which helps with your ability to operate this device, because it's an enormous device. Not just that, it's also your memory. You're having to remember these tunes, and you did, and as much as you had your music up there, I know that you can feel it. And then the next layer is getting all the right notes in the right order. And then the next layer is your three tiers. And then your even bigger layer on top of all of that is your emotion. And that's something that not all pianists or organists have. There's a lot of people that can play, Peter, and the same, there's a lot of singers that can sing, but to be able to emote through the music is, in my opinion, a real high-end player, which I consider you to be. I mean, it's incredible that you're my uncle as well, and I'm not just saying it because you are. You really truly embody the music, you feel it, so there's an emotion within that as well, Peter, and that's a skill. That's an incredible skill that perhaps you're not even aware that you have, because you can feel it. And how does that feel? How does it feel to play? Do you feel emotional when you're playing?
You're trying, the musicality is the icing on the cake, isn't it, with music?
Yeah.
We call it musicality in the piano world, and it's the same for any instrument, really. That it's the one thing, it's the most difficult thing. Learning the notes is not enough, really. You've got to, like you say, you've got to sort of get to people's heartstrings, haven't you, really?
Yeah.
If
And
you
tug at
can.
them.
Yeah.
Tug at them
Yeah.
like you did with Auntie Joan when you met her.
Yeah.
You pulled all the stops out there as well. Is you also have this wonderful classical background on the piano, and I want you to just tell us a few of your recent highlights, because you're consistently working. You don't have these skills and you sat there and having a pint. I mean, there was no pints of beer on that Wurlitzer, I can guarantee that.
No,
You really honed your skills in for that to work so magically and beautifully, and you blended each piece into the next. Now that comes with years and years and years of practice to be able to do that to that high level. So what I want to ask is, all that practice, I know you said you sidestepped to the organ and you did 20 years. You were also then, you went back to the piano. You can play, like I said, not just the Wurlitzer and the fun classics and then the pop as well, but you also have this classic backdrop. So just tell me about that, Peter. You said you went to grade 8 at 19. Just tell me a little bit more about what you've done more recently with your classical exams and talks and things like that. Just bringing us up to date, Peter, before we close.
Well, basically, we meet up every month now, and we do have lessons up at Ecclewrig. That's a place up near Broughton-in-Furness, and we have 2 sessions going all day, and 2 concert pianists. There's 2 pianos, 2 rooms, and you strut your stuff, and you get critique on what you play, and it's always useful. If you go to different teachers and play on pianos that you don't know, which is quite a big issue actually. They're not all the same. But so you what's happening is that you're playing on a strange piano, and you're doing your best, and you've got a different teacher to your normal one. Other things come to the surface, really, the corrections, and they recommend things that you could do. They suggest ideas which you can take it or leave it, sort of thing. But it does you a lot of good. That you should play on as many pianos as you can.
Oh, that's
So that
interesting for anybody that's aspiring to be like you, Peter, which is incredible. So you're
Right.
saying try and start at a young age, number one.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
saying have a go at the professional work, just, find your way towards getting some sort of professional training, and then also potentially work wherever that may be, and keep
Yeah.
practicing. And then you're also saying of more recent years, so don't give up, never give up, into your retirement now, and you're now working with other classical pianists, having the opportunity to work together, so a bit like a Tupperware party for pianists, is that right?
Well, yeah, if you like. Another good tip is not to play pieces that are beyond you, because a lot of people, they hear a piece played and they think, well, I'd love to learn that, but sometimes it's just beyond them, and all you're doing is banging notes down, and the musicality doesn't exist. It's just somebody clattering around on the piano. So that's another good thing. Play pieces you can really manage. If you
Yes.
hear a good pianist play something simple and beautifully, it'll be a lot better than listening to, even if you have the best piano in the world, an amateur that's overstepped his mark and he's not up to that. It'll just drive you nuts listening to it, because there'll be no music about it. It'll be mechanical, horrible. So play pieces that you can manage. That's a big thing.
Okay, so start, like anybody going into any entertainment field, start more simplistically and master the ship, really, before you then step into the sort of levels that you're in, and take time. I mean, how many years altogether, Peter? How many years have you actually been playing the piano? And I'm going to reveal your age by saying so, but how many years altogether?
What, from age 9?
Yeah, you share with us today.
66 years.
There you go. 66 years and an overnight success on the Wurlitzer.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Twice. And the second time, as I say, you actually followed Phil Kelsall. And the second time you were invited back and you did sequence dancing with, just like a deputy really at the Tower. And you did an incredible job with people that were actually there in the Tower ballroom in the afternoon. So the first time was with guests and the second time you played following Phil Kelsall. So Phil Kelsall that day, Peter, was your warm-up act. It doesn't get any better than that. So that's incredible, and I hope he's watching, because he was an incredible inspiration to myself, to my father, and to you, because he does have a wealth of talent, and he is the Wurlitzer. Phil Kelsall is the Wurlitzer. So what an accolade for you to have that grand opportunity. What happens next? What have you attained in your classical backdrop now, Peter, over those recent years? So 66 years. And what have you attained in your classical field?
Well, I did a piano concerto in 1991. Really, it's just a case of studying and carry on learning new pieces, getting lessons from different teachers where we have these gatherings, and that's basically all it is. We have a piano circle meeting every month. We play to each other. That's harder than it sounds, because you're on a strange piano and you're under a bit of pressure. So it's good for you, really, because you can think, well, this bit of it and that bit of it, they need more slow practice and really get it firmly fixed in your mind, really.
So a bit like Ken Dodd, where he comes off stage and he says, well, there was 5 new gags there. One of them worked and the other 4 are going in the bin. What you're saying is, in a similar field on the piano, Peter, to keep it light on entertainment, you're basically mastering certain areas and learning from your peers and watching each other. But you've done some fantastic performances on the piano, haven't you, in some of your exams? Just tell us about that and some of the people you've worked with there, Peter, please.
Well, the last exam I took, I failed it, but that was because I was reading and committing it to memory. You should either do one or the other. But the previous exam to that, the ATCL, I took at Headingley. An ATCL, it's an associate Trinity College London.
Wow.
It's a diploma. And I passed that in 2006. That's the last one I passed.
Just explain what that experience was, a bit like you explained the Wurlitzer. Am I right that you're on a sort of tiered stage and it's a classical piano? What piano did you play?
It was a medium-sized grand piano. It was raised up a bit from the floor. It looked like a dance place, but and the examiner's there with a recording device, and you just go in and he sets the time going, because he checks your timings on a stop clock and records the sound, and then you just play through your repertoire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And the first time, just remind us again what happened. You passed that with flying colours, was it?
Yeah, I passed that in 2006. Previous to that, DIP LCM, London College of Music, that I took that in 2004. That was a similar scenario. Went down to Chet's in Manchester for that.
Yeah.
Because they've got a better standard of pianos at Chetham's in Manchester. There were a lot of Steinways and decent pianos, But if you're practicing, it's all stop-start. If you're playing pieces through, you shouldn't really do that. There's a way of managing practice strategies. So that if you've got difficulties in certain places, work on them. Like when they're filling potholes in the road,
We haven't had that recently, have we, Peter?
Anyway, it's just a case of working hard on the places that are causing difficulty, and then it's just patience you need. It can drive you nuts, but the thing is, it pays. And often, if you rest a piece and come back to it, your mind consolidates it, and nobody knows why it works that. Because your brain takes it in, and it must take time to process it, and
Yes.
then you can come back to it and carry on with your work with it. It just seems to work. If you're still struggling with the same sections, yeah, it's a good idea to slow it down, check all the note values, because you can easily read wrong notes, even at my level, such as it is. Because you'll get pulled on your lesson for that, you see, and sometimes you're a semitone out, that the famous semitone, and you've just got to be diligent and work on the parts that appear hard, because
Yeah.
it really, that's the grind of it, the hard yards they call it, and if you can put up with that, you'll win.
What drives you, Peter, when you're playing the piano? What is it that drives you? Even if you've not got a performance to go to, what drives you each day to get up and play the piano?
I just love it. I love the instrument, and it's just incredible to sort pieces out. And when you get them really under your fingers, it's just a joy, because like the piano is a pure instrument, and you've got to play it. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's just you and a piano, and that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And it's not the most popular instrument in the world, but it's well up with the they're making more new pianos now than they ever have done.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, because back in the 19th century, the population of the world was a lot less, but they were still making a lot of pianos then. But pro rata, there's less people with pianos, but they're still making a lot of new ones. Yeah,
Wonderful. So
yeah.
anybody that's young, Peter, just before we go, anybody that's young who's listening today and thinking, I want to play the Wurlitzer, that's a great ambition, but understand all the technical on a daily basis, 66 years to be able to then achieve this high, wonderful instrument. And don't forget, not everybody that's playing organs has also got the classical background. And what's brilliant about you is you've got both to such an incredibly high level, and you've been a professional in your career throughout. So you started age 9, you then professionally started working on the circuit in Lytham and Blackpool age 19 with the wonderful Jeff Cherry as your drummer. You've then done 20, how many years was it you did on the circuit?
Well, it was about 19, 20 years we were
Yeah,
together.
so about 20 years almost on the circuit, and then after that you have consistently on a daily basis performed and played the piano, your own piano in your own home, every single day almost, practicing constantly because you love it.
Start learning on a piano, even if
Yeah.
it's a digital one, because you can go to any instrument from the piano, because you've learned treble and bass clef. So all the single line instruments, trumpets, violins, and so on, you can go to them. Guitar, you name it. It's a very good starting place, because it just is. It teaches all the right things, learning the piano, and it gives you scope to go forward to any other instrument. It
Fantastic.
just does. Yes.
So
So
just get up today, ladies and gents. If you want to be like my Uncle Peter Wilde, get up today. Get yourself, maybe start with a little keyboard if you need to, but progress up if you can to a piano or an organ, because both instruments are fantastic.
yeah, I would recommend the piano first, really. The
Yeah.
piano.
Fantastic. And what's your last words here, Peter? I just want to introduce my co-star of this podcast, this little tinker. He just wants to say a quick hello to Uncle Peter. He's been listening and he can't wait to watch you in a couple of moments on the Wurlitzer as well. So thank you for listening, Tinker, to Uncle Peter, Peter Wilde's Classics. And what's your final words, Peter? Thank you so much for coming on to today's show and sharing your wisdom. And as I say, you've got such a wealth of talent there, from the technical side to the theory side. You know, you really underplay just how skilled you are to be able to produce the sorts of sounds you do, and then to have progressed onto a 3-tiered Wurlitzer at the Blackpool Tower. What a magic career you've had, Peter, and what an honour and a privilege to speak to you today. I hope you've enjoyed it. And what's your final words today, Peter, to inspire anybody out there?
Learn the piano. Learn the
Yeah.
piano.
Oh, and thank you so much. Thank you, Peter, for sharing your wisdom and insight and joy of the piano and the organ. And it's been a real privilege to have you on today. So thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, Peter Wilde.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
It's my great pleasure today to welcome a mighty Wurlitzer, Mr. Peter Wilde. Thank you very much. We're going to start with some dance music. So if anybody feels like tripping the light fantastic, I'm going to play a quick step.